The topic today is a little bit heavy, but it's an important conversation that we both talked about very publicly on different platforms. And so I wanted to take today as two black men, have the conversation and talk about different things and kind of open up dialogue for people to really understand and educate and empathize with a very heavy topic, and that is sexual assault, specifically with men. So the first question we're going to talk about is why you decided to come forward with your story, and I'll chime in as well because I too am a survivor of sexual assault. So why did you decide to come forward with your story?
The main reason I decided to come out with my story publicly was really to try to change perception, and also at the same time it was a selfish decision, and I say that because I just wanted anybody to hear me. I didn't feel like I was being listened to. I didn't feel like I was being validated, and I didn't feel comforted. I didn't feel helped in a sense. I felt helpless, so in leading up to making the decision, obviously in 2017 I went on Good Morning America and did New York Magazine, two major huge platforms. I didn't at that time know the impact that it would have on individuals all around the world, but especially individuals in our community.
Yeah.
There have been many people who have come up to me and said, I really did think I was alone. And when you say that and you think about that, everybody knows that sexual assault is a problem. Everybody knows that sexual violence and human trafficking is going on.
Absolutely.
But it's one of those things where you just keep walking and go about your day.
Right. So you said that you didn't feel comforted. So did you talk to people prior to, I guess, going on a public platform?
I talked to my parents. I talked to my friends. I obviously disclosed to them that this had happened to me prior to going national or worldwide. But in terms of feeling comforted, I'm not saying that people didn't try to help. But when you're dealing with trauma, or you're dealing with sexual violence, or you're dealing with anything, your mood's kind of like this.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, what you need isn't always something that somebody can give.
Right.
And when you're going through so many emotions, and most of those emotions are rage and anger and sadness and
all the above,
really powerful things that aren't really, joy. I want to get my life together. Like it's chaotic. Your life is a hurricane. Yeah. And we're not talking about the eye of the hurricane where it's calm. We're talking about all of the other shit that's going around.
Yeah. No, I definitely, with my story, I decided to come forward and tell people because I knew that one, people listened to me, and then two, I knew that there was not something that was rare that happened to me as well. And it happens a lot more than people talk about. And so, like you said earlier about other people coming to you and saying that I didn't feel alone anymore, I knew that. Like I was like, this happened to me, I dealt with it on a personal level, and I didn't come forward. I think it was about a year between the actual assault and then me writing that blog for HIV Equal that ended up going viral with like almost 1 million impressions within the first week. And so I wanted to, like you said, like help people and start the conversation because I knew that there was something that was not talked about, but very, very prevalent in our community.
So yeah, it sounds like you were much more on a help people level.
Yeah.
In your time when you wrote the piece. See, I feel that I was much more, do you hear me? This happened.
Right. I'm gonna get on television now.
And it wasn't even like, obviously blessed to get on Good Morning America, and it's amazing that actually, 3 years ago, it aired 2017. 3 years ago, talking about sexual violence, male sexual violence, gay blackmail sexual violence. That was just something that was not in the ethos.
No, Terry Crews had...
Yeah, Terry Crews had come out and said that it happened to him especially as a black man. And I always remember, this is the saying that I get, and I'm sure you get it as well, is, you know, you guys are tall, athletic.
Right.
Why
I'm
can't
6'1". What's going on?
What's
I know I'm a little skinny and bony, but you know, I do some push-ups. I eat my Wheaties. Come on now.
So for a guy like Terry Crews, who, you know, he's bigger than most of us.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a man, you know, doing them peck titty things.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. But I can remember doing a interview actually on Hot 97 with a mentor of mine, a friend of mine, somebody who, you know, I respect and had learned from and still definitely consider fam. But Ebro from Hot 97, he literally was like, I can't grasp my head around.
And the way
happening.
people receive that, which just says a lot about where society is, just in general with sexual assault. And like, you imagine someone who isn't like us, who's been through the same thing, seeing the way that the world reacted to Terry Crews as a celebrity. Like, why would they even speak up about it, or why would they talk about it? Also,
you know, getting into, you know, when people always like to say, well, why didn't you report it? Why didn't you go forth? And, you know, there's three reasons that really were in my head. And unfortunately, the number one reason at the moment why I didn't go forward was, okay, if I go forward and make a police report, then this is going on the news.
Okay.
Just for me.
Yeah.
It's going to be Isiah Thomas's son raped, sexually assaulted.
Your father.
Because of my father. I wasn't ready for that to happen whatsoever. Number two, I already have a stigma against the police department being black. Already.
At the end of the day, we're still black men in America.
I've been arrested. I've been detained. Mayor Bloomberg, I was stopped and frisked. You know, like, all that then plays into your mind. Well, if I call the police, then, you know, what's going to happen to me?
Or even just court.
Am I going to be believed? Am I going to whatever? Am I, like, what's going to happen? And then the last thing being just, I don't want to be that. I don't want to come out. I'm not ready to talk about it. I'm scared. I'm nervous. Where is this guy? What am I going to do now? You know, and those three things kept playing in my mind, and finally it was just like, I want to speak up for myself. And my journey in obviously not being able to find my perpetrator, maybe he's been arrested on another crime, but really my thing has been, my vindication has been, okay, the trauma happened. I spiraled out. Things got murky, got bad, but I'm still here, and now I'm fighting every day not to go back.
And
if I don't go back, you know, I've won.
When you say spiraled out, like, what did that look like when you say spiraled out?
I mean, spiraling out, it looked like drugs. It looked like isolating yourself from people who loved you. It looked like, honestly, it looked like a giant scream for help. And in terms of, you know, just relationships started failing with friendships, relationships started failing with intimate relationships, and you generally just started looking for, okay, where do I fit in? And I feel like just being black and gay in the gay community is still always, where do I fit in?
Double marginalized.
Where do I fit in?
You remember the We Know kids?
Then, so I met my rapist on Grindr, on an app, and we had a date, and you know, everything was okay, cool, but there was never still that physical interaction, so the whatever. And then the next date, I ended up getting obviously drugged and then raped. But people always ask me, well, how can you go on dating apps? How can you still whatever? And I still am in the mindset of, not all people are bad. That's what I was raised up to be. Not all people are bad. People are good. People generally do good things. But then when you get to that point, when you're talking to somebody on these apps, you know, of that connection, of even a date,
right?
That's the fear.
Yeah. So, but
that's the most scary thing.
Has that fear been enhanced after your assault?
100%. Before my assault, wasn't there. The fear wasn't there. The butterflies were there, the nervousness wasn't there, but the fear wasn't there to actually meet somebody.
Yeah.
To actually let somebody see me. Because warts emerged. You know, when you're dealing with trauma, especially from a sexual assault, a lot of things that you forgot happened come up.
And the triggers.
And the triggers and the things that just, you know, you start to feel in your body. And working through therapy now, especially now, actually committing to therapy. It's like, at the beginning you're like, I don't need to go to therapy, I need to do this. But when you commit, that's when all that shit gets real and you good. So committing to therapy has definitely opened up a lot of things that I needed to deal with and I needed to work on in order to not only heal from the assault, but heal my life in general.
Nice. So I want to circle back. We've kind of touched upon like intimacy, and I was actually on a podcast the other day, Eat, Pray, Thought, and we were talking about intimacy and what that looks like post, like even outside of dating. And then there's also another level of intimacy when you're with someone that you actually care for. And for me, I know that it took me a little while to kind of get back, like even outside of dating, I didn't care about dating for a while. But when it did come up, and when it came up to sex and me having casual sex, it was a little bit easier for me to kind of get back in the swing of things. But for me, when I started actually dating somebody and being intimate with them, where I was vulnerable while I was having sex, it was just like a weird feeling for me because I felt like I was almost giving up my body. A little bit more, because
the challenge for me was always get out of your head, get out of your head, because it was always to me, do they like this? Do I like this?
Right.
I mean, if I don't like my nipples played with, for example, since we're talking about Bachelor number 1, I don't like my nipples played with. So when somebody starts playing on my nipples, I just start thinking, okay, I don't like this. This will end soon, but will they do something else I don't like? Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. When you're getting intimate with somebody, you're all trying to just figure it out, you know?
Right. Ooh, the first time is always just like, do I put my leg here?
I'd rather somebody just, you know, actually be honest about their stuff. But honestly, it's about that fear of being in that moment and knowing that in a second, you could be assaulted or you could be raped. And am I going to have to fight? Am I going to have to do something? It's that voice in the back of your head that you have to calm down and say, be in the moment, you're safe, and if something happens, you got this.
Right. Have you taken, because I know for me, when I started getting back in the dating swing, I was always more cautious about letting my friends know where I was. You know, having an address, having different things. If I'd even like putting my wallet in the car, there's like things I was a little bit more cautious when I came to things. Honestly, I was reckless before, because I have been reckless, but that wasn't a normal thing for me. But I think after my assault, I was extremely more cautious when it came to even meeting people and just like, all right, let me vet this person. Like, I need all the information.
I definitely was more cautious in terms of meeting people, but more reckless in terms of people I let into my life.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of actually meeting somebody who I want to connect with, I'm like, okay, but let's vet this. In terms of just bullshitting around, I was like, okay, whatever.
Where'd that come from?
It came from not caring. It came from a belief that my life had stopped, that I wasn't worthy, that things had just gone so wrong, that so many things had happened over time that had just gotten me in a place where I wanted to give up. And not wanting to give up in terms of I want to kill myself, suicide thoughts like that, even cutting or things of that nature. But when you're abusing drugs and alcohol, and you're just kind of just doing it in a reckless way, like, let's go, let's go. You know, everybody knows the difference between let's have a good time and overboard.
Right.
I was consistently overboard, and when I'm consistently overboard, which leads to reckless behavior, that leads to reckless encounters.
Right.
So it was really just the mindset of, hey, every part of your life leads to something. You know, if you get up in the morning and you eat breakfast and you go to the gym and things will happen in your life. Things that are very simple. It's the little details in life, especially for trauma victims, that you have to shift. Especially, you know, when you're trying to get up from depression, when you're trying to get up from things, you got to change things around in your life and not put it on somebody else.
Right.
You know, people are there for support. They're not there to carry it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about family. I'm pretty family oriented. Do you have siblings at all?
I have a younger sister.
Okay.
And yeah, both my parents been together. I think I'm gonna lie about their marriage. Let's just say 35 years. I think it was like
give
32,
or take
33.
Right.
So
I'm in a little realm over there. Yes, but I actually I'm the oldest of 5 kids, and I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters. And it was interesting to me because when I came forward, so the way that my story panned out is about I would say year after that, I wrote the article for HIV Equal. But before the article came out, I wanted to tell my family first. And unfortunately, it happened to be on family vacation. My editor hit me up like, hey, Jayce is coming out tomorrow, and I'm in this beautiful resort hotel with my family. And so I was like, all right, I need everybody to sit down because I wanted it to come from me and not from the internet.
So it's funny or ironic that you were on family vacation when I made my actual decision to say, okay, I'm doing this. Good Morning America, schedule it Tuesday, whatever it was.
Right.
I was at Coachella.
I mean, the acid.
Well, I only say that because you were in the space of wanting, okay, you have to tell your peoples before that. And I think, had I not been in an environment where I was having fun and I was just me, it's not that, you know, I was going to the excess, it was just me. I was in a happy space, and I feel you're looking at your resort.
I got my Speedos on, like, the jacuzzi's pumping.
This is happening. I know you're not going to want me to do this, but it's happening. I'm going to go watch Travis Scott.
Yeah, exactly. Excuse me. Is him and Kylie still together?
You know what? I'd stay together with a billionaire. You better work it out.
and the baby. So let's talk about forgiveness. You said you didn't know who or where your attacker is. Have you forgiven your attacker, or is that something that you even want to do, or is that part of your agenda or trajectory?
It was interesting. I thought that I had forgiven.
Okay.
There was a time when I was like, no, I want to punch him in his face, when I thought I had forgiven. And then I really started thinking about it because one of my friends ran into their attacker at a bar.
Wow.
And we had to leave.
Wow.
And I saw all the emotions that she was feeling. And I started to feel them, just in terms of internalizing, okay, what would I do in this moment if I just was looking at this person, knowing what had happened to them, whether they even acknowledge me or not, I'm still looking at them knowing that now I'm uncomfortable and they have that power still over me. And then I realized I hadn't forgive. But then I set out on the path to say, you know what? The reason I haven't forgive is because I'm not happy with what I'm doing for myself. So that was when I started making lifestyle changes.
Right.
Started getting on a diet, working out.
Come on, diet. Come on, keto.
Fish and chicken and asparagus.
So you started making lifestyle choices.
Yeah, I had to make some lifestyle changes, and in those lifestyle changes, as I said, reckless decisions leads to hanging out with reckless people, leads to fostering poor relationships. I started re-engaging with my good relationships that I had in the past. All my friends were like, yeah, you were so distant and didn't know what's going on. And I was like, well, I didn't want you to see me.
Yeah, exactly.
A hot mess. It wasn't you. It really was me. And I'm like, you should say thank you to me that you didn't have to see that side.
True, but I mean, I think also, I'm happy that your friends were also patient with you. I'm pretty sure there were...
I don't know if it was patient. I think it was just more so, I can't fuck with him right now. And I know that. I love him.
But that's still a lot of patience, though.
Yeah.
Because right now, because it wasn't a clean chop. It was just like, right now, I'm going to let Zeke, go through whatever he's going through.
Regroup.
And then we're going to meet at the other end of the table.
Correct.
So I would give your friends kudos for, acknowledging.
I clap for y'all.
Clap for the kids. So what about your relationship with, I guess, like, relationships in general? Like, we talked about kind of like dealing with trauma, but how has this, I guess, you're single? Have you had any relationships since your assault?
Yes, but nothing serious.
Nothing serious?
Nothing
All right. What other work do you feel like you have to do to get, is it just like the right person? Is there anything?
I am actively not looking for a relationship.
Got it.
What I'm looking for is I still need to get on, I can't remember the last time I went on like a real date.
Okay.
I need to get
Bachelor number one.
I need to get the confidence to do that. To actually let somebody new in. I haven't had that confidence in a while to actually be vulnerable and say, hey, yeah, all this shit in my closet is unorganized, it's messy. And when you open that closet door, you're going to get hit by a whole bunch of golf clubs that are going to fall down and balls going to bounce everywhere.
Maybe a handgun.
And I hope you can deal with that. And I'm working on, putting that stuff in storage and lighting it on fire. But right now it's here. And I've just opened that closet and started organizing it. So for me to show it to somebody else, I'm not there yet.
Okay. So, final question. What advice would you give someone, and that's male specific, that's anybody, what advice would you give to them who are working through their own personal traumas with sexual assault?
The advice I would give is be unapologetically honest. The more honest you can be in situations, don't be an asshole. It might come off that way, but generally, if you don't want to do something, get used to saying no again. Get used to owning it.
No is a complete sentence.
Get used to saying it. Get used to being at a restaurant and them not bringing your side salad and speaking up for yourself politely. Hey, I need this.
That's interesting because it's like you're almost like trying to fight the world.
Exactly.
And it comes out in several different like avenues or like portals.
Get used to speaking up for yourself. And that's something that I think has really impacted my life. And in terms of just, hey, get ready to speak. And the second thing I would say is trust your own word. Like regain the trust that, hey, I'm going to get out of bed this morning and I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to the gym. If you say it, do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't just sit around all day watching, MSNBC and reading the Mueller report.
Right. I always say that assault and rape is very common and you are not alone. Don't ever feel like you are alone because it's more common than people even talk about, especially with men. And then secondly, assault is something that happens to you. It does not define who you are. Just like anything that good happens to you. If something good happens to you in 2012, you have to keep on pushing, build on that, and work through your traumas, address it. Like you said, be honest, get the help that you need. Don't be afraid to go out and seek therapy or even just talk about it. I'm not saying get in front of a bunch of cameras and like have a conversation about it, but have a support group.
And not everybody has the luxury to do that. As I said, I had the platform through my own work, and then also, my father being who he is, to get on a national station and scream it out.
Absolutely.
But these individualized conversations that you can have with your family and friends, community members, they are more powerful than you'll ever know. I love having beautiful conversations with just 3-4 people, and we just talk.
Dope.
Like we did.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Right? My brother. Well, thank you, Zeke.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out. I appreciate you for sharing your story and just being so vulnerable. And I thank you for being courageous and being able to speak on it. This is going to help a lot of people.
Thank you.
All right, you're very welcome.